welcome back to the Penniac Wilderness YouTube channel, and it's getting into spring here in eastern Canada, so we just wanted to try, or we wanted to put out a new video and maybe try a little bit of a different approach where I sort of a combination a little bit more behind the scenes of what we do and just how a typical day might go out here this time of year and what I've been up to. And feel free to either email or comment on what you think about this style of video. So I'm just kind of getting started for the day. I wanted to bring some things into the cabin, and so the way it works in the winter, I sort of have two roads into the cabin, kind of a summer road and a winter road. So I use the winter road in the winter and typically use a snowmobile to get in, or snowshoes. Today we're going to use a snowmobile and pull a sled to bring some gear down to the cabin for the weekend. So up until recently, and probably for those of you who've been watching the videos, I've had one snowmobile, 1976 Ski-Doo Elan, which is an old snowmobile here to my right. It worked great. Found it for really a cheap price, and actually still works great. But it has had its limitations. Certainly not as much power as a newer sled. I find it gets boggy in deeper snow sometimes, especially wet snow. So I've been looking for something else to use, and this other Ski-Doo came on the market online, and I purchased it recently. Obviously it's a much bigger sled, more of a work sled or utility sled, and so I've been using this for not that long now, maybe a little over a week or two, and it's overall, all things considered, a bit of a better snowmobile for what I'm doing and what I want to be able to do. So I'm going to get geared up here for the cabin. I use an old snowmobile sled that my mother's father built, and it's been working great. It's probably close to as old as I am, 30 some years old maybe. I'm going to do some work on it this year. He built it out of hemlock, and it's really done well over time. The box on the top needs to be replaced, but the frame underneath is in great shape. So I've been using that to haul gear to and from the cabin. And so I'll get geared up and we'll make a trip down and see what the springtime weather's like here in New Brunswick, Canada. So just going to load up my gear. I got some bird seed. I put all my smaller gear in this big duffel bag so everything stays together. I've got to come along here. There's a couple trees I want to take down in the next little while close to the cabin, so we'll use that to help drop them where we want them to fall. And yeah, so I'll load up. I'm just loading up a few more things. I do have this Polk sled that I've used on some of my camping and mountaineering trips over the years, and it's been useful just for bringing stuff to the snowmobile sometimes, or sometimes I'll take this down to the cabin just on my own too. So I'm going to load up a little bit of wood for a project I'm hoping to do before the growing season starts, maybe do a small greenhouse down at the cabin, and just going to make it out of almost leftover wood from sawmilling. So I'm going to take this, take a bit of firewood down, and then we'll make our way down finally. Some of this wood's hardwood that we cut, some of it's just slabs from sawmilling. So I've been burning a lot of that this winter. So I started feeding birds at the cabin this past winter, and before I put the bird feeder up, the only type of bird I was getting were gray jays, which we also call gorbies or Canada jays, and a whole bunch of other names, whiskey jacks. They're great. If anyone's never seen those birds, we'll put some clips in the video, but they're a very friendly bird, and there's a lot of legends about them being the spirits of the departed loggers who used to log these woods, or that sort of thing. So they're really nice. But I put this feeder up and started getting chickadees and nuthatches so far, which is kind of fun watching the birds. And so anyway, we'll put some feed in and see what happens. I put it on a string just because I do also have a squirrel here. We call him Mr. Squirrel. I don't know if it's a man or girl, but anyway, he hangs around the cabin too. And he was eating a lot of the bird seed on us. So we put it on this line. It's been able to, the squirrel doesn't get on here, but I did see I'm pretty sure it was a flying squirrel one evening. I came up off the stream from a snowshoe, and I was coming under here, and this thing jumped off and sort of seemed to glide through the air. I'm not sure exactly what it is. If I fill this up today, especially on a nice day like this, it'll be empty maybe within 24 hours, certainly 48 hours, it'll be gone. And I'm putting different feed in this time. I'm just putting sunflower seeds, and I was putting in mixed feed. And anyway, a lot of it ends up on the ground, which the squirrel does eat. So we're going to try something else. Another tip, I'm no bird watcher, really don't know a whole lot about birds, but buying bird seed in bulk is much cheaper than buying it in small amounts. So I started buying it in bulk. Anyway, so I'll put some feed in the feeder, and we'll see what comes to visit today. Actually, I got two other bird-related projects I'm doing. So one is this little birdhouse, pretty simple design. Anyway, put it up on a tree and see if any chickadees or anything else, but it's supposed to be for chickadees, will nest here. I've seen them checking it out, but nothing's started nesting yet. I don't know exactly when chickadees nest. And then the other thing I'm working on in partnership with a friend of mine who works with Ducks Unlimited is a couple of duck boxes. And so we're going to put them up somewhere in this area and see how that goes. My friend Frank, who has also built a beautiful cabin not too far from here and works for Ducks Unlimited, has set me up with two of these. And so he's going to help me set them up this spring, and we'll see. But I'm not big into birds, but I think there's a type of duck, maybe a wood duck, who will nest in these. And Frank has told me that this area is a good habitat for them, so we're going to set two of these up later this spring. All right, next spring activity we're going to do is tap some maple trees. So I've been tapping the maple trees on a really small scale for off and on, I don't know, maybe over 10 years. I don't do it every year, but I've done it the last couple years. I just do a very basic setup. There's all sorts of ways you can do this, but I've got probably about 10 trees that I'll tap. I just use a very basic, these are called a spigot, and then these go into the tree. I do have another video where we did this a year or two ago, but these go into the tree when the temperatures are such that the sap starts to flow into the tree. Some of it will come into this and drip out, and then there'll be a bucket hanging off the tree collecting the sap. Probably lots of people watching this channel know way more about this than I do, but in the right year, the right season, you can get a lot of sap per day, and then basically you have to boil it and boil it and boil it to get rid of the water content, and then what you'll be left with is maple syrup, which is a great treat. So we're going to tap a few trees. I've tapped one already, sort of as a test tree to see when things start flowing. Nothing's flowing here yet. I don't get as much sun in this area as some places, even not that far from here. Just the geography of where my camp is. It's sort of in a little bit of a valley, and so through the winter there's not as much sunlight on here as there is in the summer. So anyway, we'll go tap a few maples and hopefully get some maple sap in the next week or so. This is a maple tree. For those of you who follow YouTube, you can tell it's a maple tree kind of because of the way it looks. And so anyway, we're going to tap it now. But But no, joking aside, it's hardwood, this sort of bark appearance. You can tell, obviously leaves in the summer, you could tell, but there's no leaves on it right now. So anyway, we'll drill a tap and put a tap in. These ones are flowing a little bit. You can feel the moisture right there. So. Covers just keep out dirt and brush and that sort of thing, but maybe the other big thing they keep out is rainwater, because you're already boiling this stuff down. I think something like 40 to 1. So for 40 liters of the sap, you get 1 liter of maple syrup, maybe plus or minus a bit depending on the time of the year and the type of tree and whatnot. But so one of the things you really don't want is to add another liter or so of rainwater on top of the water already coming out of the tree. So we'll leave that for a little while, but I bet that'll be running here in the next minutes. That one you can tell is not flowing yet. It's dry. So usually you need like nights that are below 0, days that are above 0, and I think what that does is somehow it stimulates the tree, the xylem and phloem in the tree to send moisture, send the nutrients and whatnot, the glucose into the tree. So I think that temperature changing, probably over time, these trees have learned, so to speak, that summer's coming, and they're getting themselves ready to start to make leaves and photosynthesize and that sort of thing. For anyone who cares, I don't currently work in forestry or biology, but my undergraduate, or anyway, I studied forestry for a while before I moved into what I currently do for work. But so I know like a little bit about this stuff. Certainly not an expert, but it's a big interest of mine. And so here I am. That's how you do it. There. I've got a mix of plastic and metal buckets. Or spiles and buckets, I guess. They both work. I'd prefer metal, but I wanted to get a couple more this year, and the place I go didn't have any more metal ones. One of the things I noticed here at the cabin today is I've got a 2x10 in the stream. I've been using that because as the stream opened up, it was still mostly ice, but there was a little section that was open on the far side, and I was using the 2x10 to get across the stream. The crossing was a fair ways upstream, but anyway, I haven't been here for a day or two, and the stream's opened up a lot, as you can see, and my 2x10 is floated down. If I don't get it soon, I'll lose it. And the price of 2x10s right now, pretty expensive. I know I mill most of my wood, but still, I know the value of that, so I'm going to try to go get it. We'll see if I can get across there and get it without falling. But these are the type of things that do. I mean, I'm joking a little bit, but these things happen all the time out here in the woods. There'll be just things that you don't expect to happen. You're cutting down a tree, it doesn't go the way you want. You're trying to build something, it doesn't go the way you want. Weather happens, seasons change. I mean, this is minor, but we'll try to go get it here. I'm going to use my metal snowshoes because the wooden ones are just getting soaked right now. It's probably not good for them. Alright, so wish me luck. Hopefully don't fall in the stream. It's not the end of the world with this stream. You should certainly never cross uncertain ice, or maybe ice at all in the winter, and certainly not the spring. But I know the stream, I know the depth, I know the ins and outs of it. So luckily I was able to get that without falling in the stream, so probably lots of uses for this going forward, but we'll see. The stream, what it will do here is, well, as the weather warms up, it just rots out underneath and the water starts to flow. Then the water will get on top of the ice. It's supposed to be cold again next week, but I don't know if the stream will freeze up again at all this year. Probably not. So it's sad to see it go, because one of my favorite things about the woods in the winter is the waterways freeze, and you can use them as snowshoeing and skiing routes. This is another project I've been working on this winter, is trying to get an outhouse finished. So we'll have a video on the whole build, but this is where it's at now. I was able to get roof boarded in, the walls framed, the floor done, and so I'd like to get this would be probably one of my main priorities in the next month or so, is to get this finished. And so anyway, like I said, we'll have a whole video, but it's got an inside portion, a small porch on the front. I might have a little sink here, and I'm debating a few different things with how I'm going to finish it off, but this is another project I'm working on. Another spring project that I want to do is just open up the woods here a little bit. Around my cabin, I've got a lot of big spruces, a few big pines, but then there's just a lot of small firs in the understory, and I'd like to thin them out for a few reasons. Mostly probably just it'll open it up, and I think it'll look nicer, and you'll be able to kind of see, and if there's an animal, you can be able to see it, and it'll make just moving through the woods nicer. And two, it'll, I think, help the little bit bigger trees grow. So, right here you can see there's a few firs that are, a couple inches in diameter, and then there's a bigger one there that maybe is 6 or 8 inches in diameter. So I think by thinning out the really small ones, it'll just allow those other trees to grow up a little nicer. So that's something I'm going to work on. I'll cut a few down now. I just go at it every now and then, either with chainsaw sometimes or handsaw sometimes, just depends. I'll take a few down, and that's just something I kind of work on that every now and then. I'll pick a little block and just thin it out. So I got this saw online. It's been working pretty good. I have no relationship with the company, but Mossy Oak, and anyway, I usually use it just for keeping the ski trails open. And then eventually I'll probably burn some of these. Some of them I might be able to use for something too. So now that, like people say, the days are getting longer, but the daylight hours are certainly longer, I just find it so much. Well, I love the winter, but I don't love the short amount of daylight hours. So now that the daylight hours are longer, I do find it easier to stay motivated and to stay outside longer. And then the other thing that's happening to me is, as much as I was like, people maybe can understand when they know winter's coming and they want to get their house and everything else ready for winter. So I had that at the cabin, wanted to get things sealed up. But now I have things I want to get done before winter ends. So like clearing these trees is nice now because, you know, the ones that have leaves aren't up, so it's easier to get through. And like there's a few bigger trees I want to cut, and they're certainly easier to cut and drag when there's snow because it keeps them clean for the sawmill. So anyway, easier to stay motivated, but also there's a motivation of knowing winter's soon coming to an end and wanting to get what I can get done before winter does finish. Some of them are already dead, clearly. Not that one. I guess that's just an example there. I took a few trees out, but it will definitely open it up and make it nicer here. So another thing I'll be working on this weekend. So this video, I just wanted to kind of give people who watch the channel an update on what we've been up to and what sort of projects are on the go, and then maybe hint at some of the future videos we're hoping to put out. Also, you know, part of doing YouTube is, for me, is sort of experimenting with different types of video. So this one has a bit more commentary or me sort of explaining what I'm doing and the direction and plans I may have. So if you feel like it, maybe let me know what you think, and it'll help us continue to develop the channel in the future. And yeah, so hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy kind of the spring weather here on our video, and we'll have more coming out soon. So thanks a lot.